Hello, everyone, and welcome to FFC&Me on the Full-ON channel. Joining me today for a new episode of FFC&Me is Fulham fan Youssef. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to chatting about all things Fulham.
Yeah, mate, I'm happy to have you on too. You were recommended to me by Matty, who obviously I know you're good friends with, who was on one of
Yeah,
the last episodes of the show that we recorded. So, I'm happy to get you on and listen to your Fulham story.
no, I really appreciate it. I'm happy to share it as well.
Let's start from the beginning with you. When did you sort of start? When did you start coming to Fulham? When did you sort of decide that Fulham was the football club for you?
It all started for me around 2009. Um, Up until then, I was a big football fan. I didn't exactly follow a particular club or anything. I was just a big fan of the sport. And I remember at the time, a mate of mine from school, he said, "Oh, Fulham were doing kids for a quid in the cup." And I went, "What, £1? You can get to football for £1?" And he was like, "Yeah, you got to do pay a £1, and you get to go to a game." I think we played Bolton in the cup or something around that time. So he said, "Tell you what, to make it sweeter, let's go to the stadium and get a ticket out of the ticket office." So we've gone down to Craven Cottage. I didn't the whole journey down. I didn't believe him. I thought he was just winding me up in it. We got down there, and I think it was something about the charm the stadium has. You know how we got the cottage in the Putney end. You got the old school turnstiles. Something was very different to anything I'd seen before. I'd obviously grown up in Wembley, and I'd seen the old Wembley. I hadn't been in, but I'd grown up around the old Wembley. I'd seen the new Wembley get built. But there was something about Craven Cottage that was different. And I think even more different was sort of the service you get when you go into the ticket office, into the club shop. The first time going in there, I thought I was just going to be treated like anybody. But having spoke to the people in there, spoke to the people in the club shop, I felt like I was someone that had been there maybe 10, 15 years, but it's the first time I ever walked in. So I ended up buying a ticket. I remember I sat in the Johnny Haynes for the game, and yeah, just the whole experience, the how welcome the fan base made me feel. It just stuck with me, and the very next season, I got my first season ticket, and it sort of went from there.
Yeah, it's interesting you should talk about it because kids for a quid, I think, is exceptionally important for clubs like ours because you know we're competing. We have to be honest. We're competing with two Premier League teams around literally in our back garden. One of which is you know, arguably one of the biggest football clubs in the world. So, it's hard to entice people over to sort of choose Fulham. What I find interesting there, obviously, is it's the whole personal touch that you get from when you go to come to Fulham. The way you're treated. What I find it interesting to see that you know the cottage itself is one of the attractions because obviously for someone who, as you say, you grew up in Wembley, so you would have seen old Wembley and the historic site that is. So to sort of get that feeling when you come to the cottage is pretty interesting. What do you know? What it was exactly about the cottage that you sort of gave you that feeling? Was it just the age of the place, or was it just the mix of the old and new? Do you know what it was?
Um, I think just the historic look it has. Um, it looks like a stadium that's kept its history, and it just goes well with the club because the club looks like it's kept its historic values through the times as well. It's also a ground that's very unique in comparison to anything out there in the world. I think all of us we grew up playing FIFA when we was all younger, and you see stadiums across Europe, across the world on the game, and you never really see anything quite like Craven Cottage. It's very, very unique. Um, I think the fact that as well, where you touched on, there's a lot of Premier League clubs in London, a lot of big Premier League clubs in London, and it is hard for the club to join fans. I think what pushed me more was to be a bit different as well, because I went to school in Northwest London, and even though Northwest London doesn't necessarily have a big team in the area, a lot of the people supported Arsenal, a lot of people support Tottenham. Then you obviously got your Man United, your Liverpool fans. I think I wanted to do something different, and in football culture, they always say support your local, support your local. Although it's not exactly my local, it is localist, you know what I mean? So I thought, why not support a club
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I can actually follow? I can actually get to the ground, I can actually support and follow, as opposed to, someone who supports maybe a United who could probably go once a season.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair shout. What I find really interesting when listening to you is obviously you said you went to that one game that cost a quid, and then you decided, you know what, next year you're going to get the season ticket. Do you know what exactly it was that made you go, you know, I'm definitely going to get a season ticket and come back, rather than just like, oh, I might go to one or two games. You went like full in, like feet first. Now I'm gonna be a season ticket holder and go from there. Do you know exactly what it was that sort of made you feel that you wanted to jump that deep in?
Yeah, do you know what it was? I remember sitting down for that game in the cup, right? And all the chants and songs, as they do today, sort of come from the Hammersmith end, right? And I remember asking the guy sitting next to me, I didn't know him. I was asking him, I go, how come all the songs and that sort of come from over there? And he turned around and said to me, that's where all he went, that's where all the diehard fans sit. And he said, and I don't think he meant as in like the fans that sit everywhere else aren't diehard. He just said those were the sort of the supporters that sing and shout sort of gone. And then after sitting in the Johnny Ains, I thought, oh, I want to experience sitting in there as well. And then I thought, hold on, I'm actually loving this. I might as well come every week. And then from there, I just thought, you know what? This is me. Do you know what I mean? It felt like
Yeah, yeah.
something I wanted to do for a long time. I didn't feel any connection with any club out there. I'd watch football all the time, but just that one game, walking into the ground, walking through the turnstile, you know, talking to people in the concourse. That's it. I was sold, and it went on
Yeah, I
since
think
then.
it's,
And
no, I was gonna say, I think it's a great thing. I think it proves the point that quite a lot of us have, and we touch on quite regularly on this show when we talk to people about, you know, especially people that don't have like a family connection to the reason why they choose Fulham. It's usually the ground that gets people. It's usually it's either like you can feel the history of the place or just the vibe of the place, because we have a really weird mix at Fulham where um, you know, I don't want to say we're not like the most like aggressive fan base. We're not. Like, we're very welcoming amongst ourselves, and you know, people you don't have a conversation with, you don't meet before. You find out they're a Fulham fan, you're going to have a conversation with them because it's like it's a weird connection between people, right? Because there's again, choosing to support Fulham is not, it's not something that people often do. So you know there's like a connection there between you. So I find it really interesting. Let's talk about now, going to football now, yeah. So for you, typically, who do you usually go to matches with? I know, obviously, speaking of Matty, you're mentioned on his show as well, but who do you usually go to football matches with?
initially, I was going with that first mate that I come to the games with. So we both actually got our season tickets together on the same day. I think we come in the summer, but I think it was July. Obviously, whenever the season tickets come out, um, we went up to get our season tickets. Obviously, we were young at the time, so it cost about £200 or something. That went too much. We ended up getting our season tickets. I used to go with him. He obviously ended up moving out of London, so only comes here and there now. But funny enough, while I was working, so I was a personal trainer for a little bit, and I was working at a gym in Wembley, near enough Wembley, and I was replacing Matty. I was taking over Matty's role at that gym. I remember him showing me around that day, and we happened to get talking about football, and so I went, "Oh, who do you support?" And he went, "Oh, I don't think you'd guess who you had support, and no, you won't get it. I support a small little team called Fulham." And I thought, "Nah, you're taking the piss. You don't support Fulham." Do you know what I mean? No one around here supports Fulham. And they went, "Oh, who do you support?" I went, "No, I support Fulham." And he's going, "Nah, you don't. You don't." Like, you know, we started a little argument going, "No, you don't support Fulham." But then we got talking, and obviously realised we're both being serious about it and that. So since then, Matt is someone I go to all the games with. Obviously got my other mates as well, like, that are the back at H5. I'm always with the H5 a lot as well. Travel to and from the away games. And I think what's special about Fulham is because we're not a massive club, no matter where you really go, you see the same old faces.
Hmm.
And like you said, we're a very welcoming club, so everyone's up for having a chat, having a conversation. Um, I might see someone, for example, Villa away on the weekend. I might see someone at Villa away, and then I'll see them again probably at the next home game, and you know we'll get chatting. And I think that's a special thing about the club, where it's the same old faces week in, week out. And it goes back to what you were saying about the connection that we have as a fan base. And I think many of the big clubs don't have it because I don't know, because I'm not there, but I'm assuming it's a lot of different people every week. All of my mates that support big clubs tend to go to games unless they're a season ticket holder, they go to games every 3, 4 months, or they make maybe five a season. So I'm guessing it's different faces every time. Whereas with us, we've got sort of tight knit fan base, which I love about the clubs. Another thing I love about the club, and I think that's what drew me in even more.
Yeah, I think it's a fair one. As I said like earlier on, that it's one of those really weird ones. You find out someone's a Fulham fan, you automatically want to have that conversation with them, and it is odd when you bump into people and you find out that you're a Fulham fan. So for me, I grew up in Wandsworth, right? So I literally Stones. I'm not far from the stadium at all, but I live in Croydon now. So whenever I bump into anybody now that supports Fulham, it's the same thing. It's like, oh wow, like there's a lot of people in here, and I think hitting on your point about big clubs don't have that connection, you don't have that want to speak to people. It's usually because everyone supports the big club. Like if you're a Man United fan and you find that somebody else supports Man United, you're just one in like a billion. Like it's nothing shocking. Like everyone around you probably is a bit of a glory hunter and does it. You know what I mean? Whereas people who choose to support Fulham, you don't do it for the glory. There's not much glory being a Fulham fan. So it's usually one of those that you want to find out why someone would put themselves through the pain just like you do most weeks. It's an interesting one for sure, especially when you do it. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
talk
mean,
about
I did a TikTok post a while ago, and I asked people to put in their comments why they support Fulham, because Fulham, when I've explained I'm a Fulham fan, this is what people ask me. Go, why? How are you a Fulham fan, or why? And no word of a lie, every comment and every explanation on there was a proper connection to the club. A proper connection to the club. Either their family were Fulham fans, or they live in the area, or something about the club drew them in. It was never, like you said, about being a United fan or, a City fan. It's just, oh, we won this and we won that, or, they signed this player and I liked it. It's a lot more of a deeper connection, which makes the club special.
yeah, it does, especially when you have to get used to not necessarily losing, but that the pain. Well, I think one of the things about supporting a club like Fulham is I always find it funny is when I hear my mates who support like the big clubs complain after they've lost a game, like it's the end of the world. And I'll be sat there like I've literally seen our team get relegated. I've seen Fulham play in the fourth division. If you want to talk to me about pain, I've seen Fulham 91st in the Football League lose against 92nd in the Football League. Losing to Tottenham on a Tuesday night is not pain. It's
Yeah,
annoying, but it's not that bad. Like so,
exactly.
yeah, I get it. I get it. One of the things that we talk about your personal life and sort of your working life and career. Obviously those who do know who you are will know you from your boxing and stuff like that. Obviously you're always repping Fulham when you're boxing. I've seen obviously photos of you in your Fulham shirts doing your walkouts and stuff like that. Does that ever get a bit of a weird reaction for you when you're boxing, that people are a bit surprised that a boy from Northwest London is choosing to support Fulham and sort of repping them all the time like you
um,
do?
I think I might have surprised a few people because I didn't wear the t-shirt out a lot early on in my career, and that's because in the rule book. So when you turn professional, right, they give you this little rule book, and they sort of tell you to read through this rule book, and in there it says you're not allowed to wear football shirts for ring walks. So I thought, oh, flipping, oh, that's what I wanted to do out the window. So I never really did it. It's only when I started watching the telly, or like I'm always watching boxing on the telly, but when I started watching and I see, people are walking out of Arsenal shirts and people are walking out of Tottenham shirts, I'm like, hold on a second here. It must be one of them rules that they don't really apply. So when I think I saw someone walk out with an Arsenal shirt. I said, you know what? On my next one, I'm wearing my Fulham shirt and I don't care. No one's going to tell me nothing. Because what I'll do, I'll just pull up a video of someone doing it on BT Sport or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Mm.
I wore it out. I think a lot of people, a lot of my mates and all, they already know that I'm a Fulham fan. But I don't think they knew to what extent I was a Fulham fan and how much of a community that we have. Because when I boxed this year in March, I boxed at York Hall for the English title, and a lot of my mates turned up. A lot of my mates from Fulham turned up, and it created a really big atmosphere, and it was proper loud in there. I remember being in the changing room, and I ran upstairs to the toilet and I could hear them singing "Too Good to Be True" outside, and I was like, flipping hard. That's a big crowd to go. That's like it's almost made me nervous. It's like I can't let anyone down now. They've all turned up. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think they were more surprised at how, as a fan base, we support each other,
Mm.
and we got each other's back, because like we said earlier, they probably support big clubs, or they're not really involved in their fan base, and they probably don't know how close knit it is.
But yeah, you talk about sort of how we sort of support each other and stuff like that as a fan base. I do know there was a couple of people I was speaking to about you coming on to speak to you who are into boxing and they were aware of who you were, but weren't necessarily aware of your connection to Fulham. Whereas for me, I'm not going to lie, I'm not really into boxing. I don't really watch it, so I didn't really know you from your boxing career, but I knew you from Fulham. Where we had like a weird sort of story between people who were like telling me about you boxing and me sitting there going, I only really know him for football. So it's a bit odd, So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about briefly, because I know Matty was talking about it pre in his episode, um, was the moment last season with the Tom Cairney flag at Fulham. Because I know that you and Matty were very proudly showing that thing off. Uh, what can you tell me a little bit more about sort of how that came about and sort of the day when
um
he noticed it?
I'm real. It was all Matty's idea. Matty was saying that Matty's very big on improving the fan culture and creating more like a patriotic Fulham fan base, because I think as a fan base we're very friendly, which is a good thing. Um, but I think a lot of us could do a bit more to maybe show appreciation to certain players that have stayed for a long time and whatnot. And one thing he was saying is, we don't have any flags. A lot of other clubs, you go up and down the country, you see flags all over the place. Away ends are full of flags. He said something we need to add to the cottages are flags. And I don't know if you remember years ago, you probably do. Remember the Putney end when they had the old Riverside? The Putney
Hmm.
end just in front of the tunnel had flags going up the side. He said, why don't we create something like that in the Hammersmith end? Or maybe before the game and after the game, we can have some flags we can wave about. So he started a conversation about the flags. And it just happened to coincide with Tom reaching his 10-year anniversary. And he sent me loads of mock-ups of the flag. I didn't actually think he was gonna do it, if I'm honest with you. And then out of nowhere, he just sent me a WhatsApp video of him. He goes, "Oh, look at the flag! It just come today. It's this massive Tom Cairney flag." Um, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring it out Leicester away." I didn't go Leicester away that year. He went, and Tom Cairney ended up giving him his T-shirt. So, but it's nice to see from our players. It shows that we're not just guys in the stands. We're not just fans in the stand to them. We mean a bit more, and it's good to know that we're appreciated by the players as well. Because to some players in this day and age, the way football is, they're just picking up a wage. But for us in the stands, I feel it's a lot more. There's a lot more to us. To some people it's an escape. To some people it's, the people you meet. Like we said earlier, you could meet someone who's a Fulham fan randomly, and you instantly become the best of mates just because you support the same club. And it's nice to know the players appreciate, the small things we do, like making a little flag for Tom. Um, so yeah, he made a Cess one, and we brought it out on Saturday at Brentford at home, and Cess reshared it. Cess had somehow managed to get the video, put it up on his story as well. So it's wonderful to see, because I feel like he feels so far away from the players
Mm.
at every game you go to, or if you watch on the telly, wherever you feel so far away from them, and that makes our club once again feel that little bit extra special. We're valued by the players, and we have a sort of connection with them. We may not be on the blow or talking to them every day, but we have a little bit of a connection with them, which is, I think, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think that you won't know because it's pre your time. But when I was younger, the ability to have access to players was so much easier than it is now. Like when the players used to come out to like warm up before games, used to stand at the back of at the front of the Hammersmith end, and they'd come and sign your programs, and they'd come and say hello, and you could pick up a rapport like that. You can't do that with players these days because they're way too professional. Like as soon as they're out on that pitch warming up, they can't be paying attention to you. They've got to be getting on with their stuff to play. So it's good, and like the flag, the flag on Saturday for Cess, I did see. Obviously, I saw the shared picture too. It's great. The Tom Kearney one's brilliant. It's one of those things that we as a YouTube channel on Full-On, we have a similar thing where we recently opened up like a merchandise store. We sell T-shirts and stuff like that, and all of our T-shirts are the exact same thing. All it is for us is, yes, it's a way of us trying to create a little bit of income for the channel because it means that we can reinvest it into what we do. But really, all it's about is showing love for the club and players and sort of certain elements of it. And it's great when it gets noticed, especially by the people that it's aimed at. Test retweeting that video is exactly what you want because that's who the flag's aimed at him. So it's brilliant. It's great stuff to see. Let's move on to the second part of the interview. We're gonna do your top threes. Some people really like this bit, some people don't because it's obviously it's a bit more personal. One thing I will say, obviously, there's no right or wrong answers here, because it's all about you and sort of your time at Fulham and you being a Fulham fan. So the first sort of top three is top three favorite Fulham moments. Now this is like on field moments. So if it's goals or just things happening in games. Yusuf, what are your top three sort of favorite Fulham moments?
Um, I think we've got to pick something from the Europa League year where we got to the final. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the 4-1 at home to Juventus be one of the biggest moments because of how much of an underdog we were going into the game, how unexpected it was, and there's almost the deficit we had to climb, the mountain we had to climb going into it. We're already down, and it was a massive comeback, and then to eventually get to the final, it's a fairy tale without the ending, innit? Pretty much. So I'd have to say that game. Number two, in no particular order, by the way, but number
Yeah,
two, I'd have to say that Muniz goal last season at Stamford Bridge, historically, because that was our first win at the Bridge in years, so historically that's got to be one of our best moments. And then to do it in that fashion as well, last minute on Boxing Day, bit of a toss up between that one and Harry Wilson's 2 goals against Brentford, but I have to go for the Chelsea one for the history. And for the third one, it was before my time, but obviously when I started supporting the club, I thought it was only right I look up and I understand what's happened before I've come here. There's no point me just turning up and, the club was there long before me, so I have to understand what happened. And one story I love is The Great Escape. Because once again, sort of an underdog story where we've been written off and we come back. I think I like those stories a lot more because I relate a lot to myself. In boxing, I'm always sort of an underdog going in there. I like to take fights where, people maybe don't expect me to do well, don't expect me to win. So I think that's why I take to those moments a bit more. If I was to add it though, I'd say for me personally is when they invited me on the pitch with the belt. That's the one I'd never forget. I think the one thing about that moment though for me is I didn't feel like I appreciated the moment in the moment as much as I do now. I think I was very nervous walking onto the pitch. I don't know why. I didn't know what sort of reception I was going to get because I didn't want to go on the pitch at halftime when we were losing.
mm.
So, but yeah, those
Yeah.
are my 3 or 4 best moments.
I think when you talk about them as match moments as they are, the Juventus one is for me is always going to be up there. For me, most people in this country grew up watching Italian football on Sundays, right? When it used to be on like Channel 5, and Juventus are the pinnacle of Italian football at that time. And for me, I don't have an Italian football team because I don't watch it close enough. But Juventus would be that team because of that era of football. Watching you used to watch them play like every bloody week, so you got to love you loved them for it. So that game going in after losing in Turin, you were sitting there thinking like, I'm only really going because I'm going to watch Juventus play at Fulham, and that in itself is a pinch me moment because at the time when you used to watch him play on a Sunday, we weren't even anywhere near the Premier League. We were like Division Two. So to see that sort of stuff is mental. But the
Must be
whole night
amazing
was
for you to
crazy.
see the climb from
Yeah,
Division Two to playing Juventus, like you were saying, seeing a team that's probably at the pinnacle of the sport, and then us climbing up to eventually beating them, not even just playing them, to beating them.
yeah, it was properly one of those moments where you realise that it don't get much better than that at that time. It don't get much better than what you were going through. And yeah, we know we went on to the next round, we won the semis and got to the final stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely a highlight for me too. The winning at Stamford Bridge is always going to be special. It doesn't matter how it comes or when it comes. To do it in the fashion we did it in, mental. It's one of those things that you know I wish I'd give anything to have been at that game, but I couldn't because of family commitments and Christmas and stuff. So, I've seen us loser there enough to know how special that was, and then the final. You go back about the Great Escape year. That was a proper test for a lot of people in supporting Fulham because the football that we watched that year uh, was really bad at the start, and then it got really good at the end. And there was that really weird moment where, I missed one game all season that year, and that was Man City away. Went to every game except for Man City away because I was at a
Fair,
wedding
fair.
that day and I couldn't get out of it. So, like, I can tell you, it was special. It was one of those really weird moments in football where, it was so good to sort of stay up. It's just a shame that a couple of years later that we sort of folded and did end up going down. But you know, it happens, and it's one of those things in football. Let's go on to your next set of top threes. It's your top three favorite Fulham goals. Now, these don't necessarily have to be goals that you've seen live, obviously, but obviously it does help if you have. But what are your top three favorite Fulham goals?
I'm gonna start with obviously. I think everyone's gonna say that Kasami goal at Crystal Palace. That volley was phenomenal. I watched that game on the telly, and it was like, what a goal! Even like to this day, sometimes I'll be on YouTube just putting something on for the background, and I'll put on best ever Premier League goals, for example, and you'll see that goal pop up. And the more I watch it, the more I appreciate how good that goal actually was. I mean, to volley it from where he did was phenomenal. That's definitely got to be. I'd say my number one. Um, I think number two, I'd say because it's one of the best goals I've seen live was that I think Brian Ruiz's chip against I think it was Everton
Yeah,
when he lobbed the keeper. I think because he had a lot of hype around him when he come over because of the World Cup before, and yeah, that chip was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal chip. And then my third one, I'm gonna say the COVID playoff final against Brentford, Joe Bryan's free kick from the halfway line. I actually forgot about that goal, until I saw it on the telly the other day. Just a little video that was like all the best goals, and I was like, oh yeah. Like imagine the scenes if we could have gone.
mm. Yeah, yeah. It's mental. We'll break down those three goals obviously because they're great. The Katami one. Anyone who's watched the show in the past, I've spoke about it a billion times because it's always on there. Fantastic goal. For me, it's even better because it's against Palace, and as somebody who lives in Croydon,
Oh
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. So like, uh, the Brian Ruiz chip, I've never been able to describe the goal other than to say like the audacity,
Yeah.
because the audacity to do it in a Premier League game, mental. The ability to do it is crazy. He was so underrated, Brian Ruiz, as a footballer. It's just a shame, obviously, that a few injuries and niggly things here and there, and then us sort of changing our style of play under different manager meant that he didn't stay longer than he did because he was an exceptional talent. Um, Definitely sold on him from the World Cup before he joined us, and then I definitely missed him when we saw him in the next World Cup after he left.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of those things. And then yeah, you know you talk about special goals and special moments and stuff like that. It's always one of those things that you can't help but absolutely love when you see it. The Joe Bryan free kick, I think, is going to be one of those ones that every single Fulham fan around the world is going to have the exact same thing that you said. It's like, what if? Like, just what if we could have been there? What if anyone could have been there and we didn't
Yeah.
have to hear, the bench celebrate rather than 35,000 Fulham fans in the other end? It would have been brilliant. But, it is what it is. And, thankfully, we managed to get through and win that game anyway and go through it.
Yeah.
Yusuf, the next top three is your favourite top three Fulham kits. Now, this is personal preference. I have to make this clear because this one's always a bit contentious for people who watch the show. It's personal preference. Okay, so there's no right or wrong answer. Uh, so
They're gonna
just let me
slate me in
know.
the comments, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Let me know your top three favorite Fulham comment kits.
All right, no particular order. I'm gonna say the Pizza Hut, the kit with the Pizza Hut sponsorship. Can't remember exactly what year when Malou Sarr wearing the away one,
Mhm.
with the red and black stripes. That's a shirt I've been trying to get my hands on for years and years and years, but it just never comes around to me getting it. Um, my next one would be the Adidas kit with the Demon Internet sponsor. I think you got it there on the background.
Yeah,
That one. I love the home kit. I love the away kit. I managed to get the tracksuit from that year. I found it. I was just scrolling on Vinted and I saw one that was turned out to be my size, so I just picked it up. I don't think the person selling it knew exactly what it was. I don't think he was a Fulham fan, but I was like, yeah, send me that. I was so, and it's one of the best things I've ever bought off there. So definitely from that year. And I'm gonna pick one of the kits from this year. I'm gonna pick the home kit from this year. And the reason why, I think I haven't been that impressed with the kits for maybe the past 2 3 years, if I'm honest. I do pick them up, but I think the home kit this year, I like the little touch with the small details on it because it makes it. I feel like it makes it different to any other kit out there. For example, it gives it that special touch. 'Cause I feel like Adidas, like of recent times, sort of copy and paste different colors on the kits, all the same kit, different copy paste. I saw a Atletico Madrid tracksuit on the train the other day, and I was like, hold on, is that full? And it's just the same thing with different colors. But I'm gonna go for the home kit this year. I do love the away kit this year as well, the green one with the old
yeah.
logo.
Firstly, Yusuf, you picked my favorite Fulham kit of all time. The Pizza Hut away kit, the black and red striped kit, is my favorite kit of all time. I know everyone always talks about the home kit and how iconic the home kit is from that year. That away kit for me is just ideal Fulham away kit. Like it's the simple black and red stripes. Get on with it. Fine, done. Love it. Brilliant. The uh the demon kit, obviously, like the one in my sort of little cartoon there. It it's arguably one of my favorite away kits we've had in my lifetime. Hence the reason why I'm wearing it in the my little cartoon there is because like it just brings back so many great memories. That year that we had that kit, obviously pre Premier League, we didn't lose many away games that year. So you fall in love with kits when you don't lose in them. It's quite simple, isn't it? That's the way. And this year's home kit, you're absolutely right. Adidas had this a tendency, unless you're Liverpool, the kits are very boring. They don't really put much effort into clubs like ours. But the little inlays of the cottage balcony that go across the kit, you only really see them when you're up close to the kit. It does really make the home kit stand out. They've done a great job with our third kit this year, but and the away kit's great for nostalgic reasons. People hate it. If you're not a Fulham fan, people hate that kit.
Yeah,
I love it. And I think the fact that other fans hate it makes me love it more.
yeah.
It's a really weird one, that kit. But
I feel like they don't
each year,
understand it. There's a lot of things about our club they don't understand
yeah,
because I think I don't know, they don't get it. Even bringing back the old logo, they don't understand that either.
yeah, it's because it's most of them. It's pre before they understand football. It's pre before Premier League being massive. It's one of those things that it is what it is. All right, we're gonna move on to the last set of top threes, and I know you've really hit on one, which is your top three like full of moments that aren't match related. I know you've hit on one already. You're talking about you going on the pitch with your belt and stuff like that. But can I have a couple of others like top moments for you that maybe not match related, like during games, but sort of really emphasize to you why you love supporting a club like Fulham?
Um, I think I'm gonna go for last year when we played Palace in the quarterfinal of the cup. The club reached out and were looking for volunteers to help sort out that banner that they had at London. I think it was London's Originals, the banner that they had up there. And obviously, the message come to me, and I went, yeah, I'll be up for it. I'm up for it. And I went down, and I think moments like that where the club really want to get the fan base involved are a big big moment for me personally as well because I'm involved in the actual club doing things and setting up a match day. But I think it's a big thing as a whole because, like again we said earlier, we feel part of the club. A lot of people like to say the team. But for me, it does feel like a club. We feel a part of what's going on. We're not just a consumer. We're not just a ticket sell to them. I feel like we're a lot more than that to them. Obviously, business is business at the end of the day. I understand it, but they make us feel very worthy and valued to be there. So I think just being involved in that was a big, big moment for me. Um, I think another moment that's maybe not match related is what is it? Good question, man. It's got me thinking. Um, I think walking out with the Fulham shirt. I know I spoke about it already, but for me personally, to see the club acknowledge it was a big thing for me. I'll go into the story about how it come about me getting on the pitch as well because I just won the English title. I walked out with the shirt, um, and I happened to tag Fulham, the actual official page, in the post that I put with the shirt, and they followed me. And then when they followed me, it was proper like a hold on, what's that? You know what I mean? Proper like rubbing my eyes. No way. And I thought, nah. And then Tom Kane ended up following me as well. And I went, nah, this is old. And I'm gonna wake up in him. This is a dream. So I've showed my coach at the gym because at the gym at the time when I realised, and he looked at, he's gone, have you got a contact for anyone in the club? I went, I don't, but I can get you one. So I've got him an email. I've given him the email. I've gone, yeah, crack on with that. You're not going to get nowhere with that. Do you know what I mean? I just thought, yeah, you think you're going to get some with it. Crack on, innit? A random number called me that evening, and it was the club. And they were saying, oh, would you like to come on the pitch on Saturday for the Tottenham game? I think it was Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. And then I was like, flipping out, like they actually recognize what I'm doing here. They actually care about us, you know what I mean? And I think that was a big moment for me because, like I said, I've said it time and time again now, just to feel valued by the team, just as a fan base to feel valued by the team. I feel like it means a lot to us, and I feel it's what makes our fan base special. We may not
Yeah, I
be the
think
loudest, we may not be the most fearsome, but that's something we can be proud of as a fan base is that, we are valued by our club and we value each other as fans. You can literally I can walk out on my street today, meet someone who's a Fulham fan and become best mates with him simply because of that. And a lot of fans of other clubs can't do that. And, that I'm well proud of that being a Fulham fan.
Yeah, I think it's great, mate. But personally, your moments are pretty special, obviously, because they relate to your personal life. Obviously, your boxing career is obviously massively important. It's what you do, right? It's your proper passion. It's boxing. So to have your sort of like your two passionate, like your worlds collide almost, and bring them together. That must have been like proper special, especially to be acknowledged by a football club for winning the English Championship and stuff like that. That must have been like really surreal to sort of get a pat on the back by the thing that you're usually like cheering on yourself. Um, Last thing we're going to talk about, obviously, on FFC&Me, we always like to finish each episode with our Hall of Fame. The FFC&Me Hall of Fame is really simple. It's you put someone into our Hall of Fame that you think is connected to the club. It can be anyone who works for the club, anyone who's played for the club in any way that you really think emphasizes to you Fulham as a football club. So do you want to enter somebody into our Hall of Fame?
Um, I wish I remembered names now from people that work at the club and stuff at the ticket office, and I want to put them in, but I can't remember. I can't remember names. I just know faces. But I don't know if he's already been put in, but I'd say Moussa Dembele, the Belgian player, simply because of how good he is as a player. But I think more so after he retired, how highly other players speak of him. I think that shows how good he actually was. Um, Again, something where maybe I didn't appreciate. I knew he was good, but I didn't appreciate how good he was at the time. But hearing other players speak about how good he was in training, and I saw a TikTok the other day of him or someone saying he wouldn't even lace up his boots, like he just effortlessly was so good. So I think, yeah, I put him into the Hall of Fame.
That's fair shout, mate. Musa and Bailey is up there with probably one of the best footballers we've ever had play for the club. I know a lot of people look at that sort of accolade as, what they won at the club, what they do for the club, and stuff like that. But I think technically, he's probably technically one of the best footballers we've ever seen play for Fulham. And don't think he was appreciated just how good he actually was until after he left. When you see him doing that in a Champions League club at the time in Tottenham, compared to being the best player at Fulham at the time he was at Fulham wasn't that special. Being as good as he was for Tottenham, definitely was when they were like in Champions League and stuff as well. So that I get that. Yusuf, thank you very much, mate, for giving me your time tonight. I appreciate you coming on, tell us all about your Fulham story. If anyone doesn't follow Yusuf already on social media, he's on TikTok. It's always good to have a little follow. You and Matty, your little love story on there is brilliant. So you know, I sort of push everyone to go over and give him a follow. I'll put all of your things in the description of the show. So if anyone is watching, they want to go give him a follow. If they haven't done so already, then do that. Other than that, mate, Yusuf, thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for sharing your Fulham story, and hopefully we'll actually get to meet up soon and say hello properly.
No, thank you, back. Well, thank you for having me on the podcast. Like I said, I really appreciate your time as well. And you know, it's something that we're so passionate about. There's nothing better than talking about it like this and sharing it. I'm rambling on, I know, but I feel like there was a time where we had no presence on social media as Fulham supporters, and now we're all over, I think we feel like we're all over it, all over social media and stuff. And it's good to see because we're sharing our stories, we're sharing our journeys, and yeah, it's just wicked to see. So thank you, bro.
No, no problem, mate. Anyone who is watching, I hope you have enjoyed tonight's episode of FFC&Me. We have a few more coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have an interview with Ray Houghton, ex Fulham, ex Liverpool, Ireland legend, coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. So look out for that. Other than that, keep watching Full On as well for the latest sort of match preview and match reviews. Come and give us a follow on social media as well. Other than that, have a good week, and hopefully Fulham will be good for the next game. Speak to you soon.